Shadows whisper when the lights go dim. Cold breath crawling on my skin. Voices echo from the other side. Is it real or just my mind? Things paranormal talks in the dark. Secrets buried leave a burning mark. We interview the dead, we debate the unknown. Chasing shadows where the seeds are sown. Fingers tapping on a Ouija board. Broken silence like a shattered chord. Eerie hums in the dead of night. Is it true?
Well, good
No.
evening. Hello. Here we are live a bit later, but as usual.
I just wanted to say,
Yes, we don't
never in
take on-
time.
Yeah, every time. We mess up and no problem at all, as long as we are having fun. And tonight we have a very interesting topic, one of my favorites. And that's why we have Tim.
Hello.
Hello. To start, for our listeners on Spotify, can you tell us who you are and what you do?
My name's Tim Kohler. I'm a paranormal investigator. I'm a co-host of the Paranormal Jackass with Scott Wilson, and I've been doing it for a long time. But I kind of get into a little bit of everything paranormal, because I don't think paranormal just revolves around ghosts and spirits. I believe paranormal is anything that's not normal. So
True.
cryptids and UFOs, conspiracy theories, even down to serial killer behavior and why people do things that they do that's not normal, So we kind of encompass everything like that.
Agreed.
Yeah, but we took a oh, the damn word. Just one of the topics, the cryptids, especially for our friend Willow, because she pronounced it so funny. And Bigfoot, I can't even do it the way she does. Can you,
No,
Shane?
cryptids.
Yeah,
She calls it cryptids.
cryptids.
Cryptid.
Yes,
Yeah,
got to
they-
It's not like cryptids. No, it's cryptids.
As you can see, they call me the rare balded Sasquatch because I'm 6'3" and I wear a size 15 shoe.
Wow.
So I'm really tall and I've got really big feet, and everybody calls me Bigfoot because I've got big feet.
Yeah.
And of course, when you see Scott Wilson and I together, Scott's 5'1".
It's gonna be like this.
I
Out of
asked
screen, in
Scott
and under
one
the screen.
time. Yeah, in the past, I asked Scott, "Are you that small or is Tim that big?" And he answered both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
This is
just
how she
funny.
pronounces it.
Yeah, cryptids.
Cryptid.
She just can't say it. It's funny as hell. I swear.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeremy always recommends me for Bigfoot because I have a unique spin on the conspiracy side of it.
Hmm.
It's kind of my personal thought that if Bigfoot was real, and they were trying to cover it up, I think, like with conspiracy theories, any conspiracy theory, the best thing that could possibly happen to conspiracy theory is a money trail.
True.
And when we talk about Bigfoot, the most famous place for the American Bigfoot is the West Coast, the Northwest Coast. There's Scott there. But when you think of the American West Coast, you think of the logging industry that takes place there. Now, when the spotted owl was found in Washington State, the West Coast logging industry in America almost went bankrupt overnight. So if they found something as big as Bigfoot living in those woods, they would have to shut down 90% of America's logging and lumber industry
Yeah. True.
to make a natural habitat resource for it.
Yeah.
So if they deny the existence of Bigfoot, then they don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it'd be really easy for them to cover up such evidence.
Yes. Definitely.
It is. It is.
So I always think of, that's kind of the way my mind thinks, is who gains, who has something to lose and who has something to gain by not accepting something or covering something up.
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes, is who benefits from that.
Yeah. I think our mind works the same. We always say follow the money.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
That
and
works
when
out
you
that
follow
way.
that trail and you think about that, there's millions and millions and millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Not to mention how much tourism they get off of. It's like I talked to Russell Edwards about his book, naming Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, will they ever actually come out and say that you're right? Because the mystery of Jack the Ripper brings billions of dollars worth of tourism to London every year.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Jack the Ripper tour and all the places they go and
They will never
the old
admit.
bars. It won't be the
Right.
same.
If
And yeah.
that money trail, that tourism and that money, and Bigfoot's like that here, it brings in millions and millions of dollars worth of tourism.
Yeah.
Yellowstone National Park is got all these natural wonders, but you'd be surprised how many Bigfoot shops there are around it.
Yeah, I've seen a documentary, and there's a town, and everything is Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Gift shop, clothes, burgers,
it's like
They have
everything.
everything.
Roswell, New Mexico, and aliens. The whole
Yeah,
town is
Yep.
centered around people coming to see evidence of aliens, and it's all this big tourism place. So as long as there's money to be made, they're never going to admit the full truth.
No, exactly. Exactly. I have a question. If it comes to Bigfoot, Sasquatch, what is your theory about it? What could it be? What kind of
Well,
animal? As in,
I kind of go back to the native ways. The natives believed that Bigfoot was a spirit that guarded the forest, that protected the forest and kept the forest pure. So I kind of go back to me personally. I kind of look at it from that point of view. Maybe it's a spiritual being that's there to protect our woodlands and protect the forest, and it's that. Could it be an animal? Absolutely. I mean, people have compared it to an ice age animal that we know lived with human beings, which was Gigantopithecus, which was a very large ape-like creature that lived alongside of human beings during the ice age.
yeah,
Which wouldn't be that far-fetched. Like, they compare Loch Ness to a plesiosaur.
True.
That didn't fall extinct. So, and let's be honest, they find animals every day that they think are extinct, that they realize are not extinct.
yep.
So
Yeah, I heard I heard about a cat-like being that is extinct in Texas, and now it's back all of a sudden.
yeah,
I just
yeah,
saw that today. I saw that. I read about it.
yeah.
I can't remember the name though, but
And the Tasmanian tiger.
yeah.
yeah, That one's
Yes.
back.
And the camp, which is a large fish. They found those off the coast of Africa. They thought those were extinct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, it's weird.
it's crazy how much of our own world we have not explored yet.
Exactly.
So who knows? And now there's all kinds of talk that maybe megalodon's still around, but
Yeah, I heard
I
about that a lot. Yeah.
I tend to think maybe that one's actually gone by the wayside.
I
Somebody would
hope
have seen
so.
one by now.
I don't think you will live to tell the tale, though.
No. Very, you're talking
That thing's
about a
way
Well,
fish
too
as
big.
large as a bus.
they are really big, but they are talking about a juvenile because I saw some footage. It was filmed here um, in the area of the Netherlands, a drill island, and you see a shark passing a camera, and it doesn't end. It's swimming and swimming and swimming. So it's too big for a white shark, and you have a shark which swims a lot in Greenland and always on the bottom, but
Yeah.
it doesn't look similar. But I can't find the footage again. That's so strange. I looked for a week. I can't find it.
The thing that intrigues me about Bigfoot the most, though, is there are reports of sightings that go back thousands of years and on every continent in the world. And I think that to me lends a little more credibility because
Yeah,
you're talking about a creature that people are seeing 1,000 years ago on every continent on the planet. So, to me that signifies that there's got to be something behind it.
yeah,
If it's on
Agreed.
every continent, there has to be something there.
yeah. I know the stories as well. Um, a hairy creature who catch children and women and ate them all over Europe, and around the mid 1600s, I think it
Mhm.
was. So
And you go into Australia, you're talking about the Yowie.
yeah,
In Nepal, you're talking about the Yeti. There's all these different stories. They all have a different name for the creature, but the creature's all very similar. Tall,
Yeah.
very hairy, ape-like man with large feet. The creature always seems to be a similar creature. There's one even in the East Islands of the Philippines and Singapore and all those areas that talk about a wild man is what the word translates to as wild man. And it's a
yeah,
hairy man-like creature.
Yeah.
yeah,
So there's stories all over the world of this. So it has to lend something. There has to be something out there that people are seeing. And
Yeah. Exactly.
I've heard everything from he's an alien to he's an alien being to a spiritual being to a physical animal creature. I can't tell you the truth on that, but what I can say is there has to be something everybody's seeing.
yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
either a spiritual being or interdimensional being
yeah,
because it's been
Yeah.
seen and it's gone again, and then
Right.
you don't hear anything about it, and all of a sudden it's there again.
Exactly. And you
Yeah.
hear stories of people running into all kinds of stuff in the woods. Well,
True.
I am sorry. Today's my granddaughter's first birthday. So I've got to hop off of here. But I wanted to hop on for just a little bit. I know Nick's coming on, so
yeah,
I wish you guys the best. I was really happy to see both of you. It's been a long time, so
yeah.
It is. It's way too long, Tim.
absolutely,
You have to
We
come back
will
again,
do.
though.
Yeah,
absolutely. Sometime when I have a little more time, I really do apologize.
no problem.
It's
Everything,
fine. It's fine. It's all
our
fine.
world
We
around
real.
here, Our little
Hey
family
there.
keeps expanding and we keep getting busier and busier. Hi,
Yeah.
Jeremy. All right. It was great seeing you guys.
Okay.
I've got to hop off of here.
Oh,
Have,
okay, no problem. We are
All right.
waiting for Nick now.
have
Okay.
a nice birthday.
Have a
Yes.
great
Thank you
birthday.
guys. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye,
bye.
Tim.
Is he gone? Let's see.
He is now.
Yes,
Yeah, it was the birthday of his granddaughter, the first birthday. So
he, yeah,
he
he
he planned
forgot.
a date with us. He
Yes,
planned a date with us, and his daughter planned the birthday at the same time. And he said yes
yeah.
already. And then he was like, "Ah, crap! I have to fix something about that." So he tried, but we're gonna get him back again, and we're gonna talk some more about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, and
Yeah,
all the other
of
cryptids.
course.
Now it's waiting for Nick.
Okay. Now, he just got home
Yeah,
and he is getting his laptop on. So, and in the
that's
background,
perfect.
I still, yes, the connection is gone with him. I thought he was coming back.
No, it's a good hope, but I don't think he's gonna come back again.
Yeah, but um, you started with it, an interdimensional being,
Yeah,
uh, and they use portals.
yeah.
Those portals are all over the world in different places. So, um, what's your thought? Is it
I
an
think it's a good
actual?
possibility.
Is it an actual being, physical being, or interdimensional?
Well, there has been, and I think you remember the story about that on Postbank in Arnhem.
Yeah,
The being that was seen behind the trees, and then the
yeah,
shots that were falling. It was on video, was
yeah,
recorded by someone. I have no idea who it was though. But I think there was a similar being, as in Sasquatch, Bigfoot, but it was an experiment gone wrong, and it escaped. In our case, in the Netherlands case, I think that
yeah.
was something around that. That was the stories about it. I don't know if it's true though. It could be just Bigfoot.
Um, I remember a different team who was covering it, that we had a Sasquatch like ish being here.
I
And
know it was there.
yes, but as you know, I'm born in the area and I live my whole life in the area and I've been in two places on moments. Um, you get a fine and it's expensive.
Yep.
Never encountered it. Seen enough wild boar, deer, foxes, herd wolves, but never a squatch like beings.
I have no. Yeah, I haven't seen it either. So I was there. The team that you were talking about that covered it. I was in that team back then.
Ah,
And God, I'm not in there anymore.
yeah,
Not gonna name the names because I don't want to give them the good commercials. Um, but we did
exactly.
cover it. We did cover it.
Yes,
I
but
I didn't see anything.
I remember there was a small video attached to it, to the
True.
article, and I remember 2 or 3 years previous, they had an April Fool's Day prank, and it was
I
similar to
didn't
the
know that.
Fool's. Yes, I. So
Seriously?
seriously,
Ah, fucking hell. Well, they
yeah,
got me. If it was April Fool's, they got me with the
yeah,
video because it was a good video.
yeah, and it was an April Fool's video, and it was done pretty good. And some of the parts which was shown in the presentation was from that April Fool's stunt.
Oh,
I pointed
that's
it
why.
out and got a block because she knew it knew better than me. So I told her, I sent her, I lived here my whole life, never heard
Yeah,
anything like it. And maybe not, but I know about an April Fool's prank, blah, de, blah, de, blah, de, blah. And
exactly.
I can't repeat what it sent to me, and I couldn't react because I got blocked.
Yeah, don't. Just don't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I see Calvin in 1967, my birthday. Roger Patterson and Robert Gimlin saw Bigfoot. They saw it in Northern California. I heard a lot about California cases of Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Yeah, but I think Utah as well.
I think around everywhere
Yeah,
in America. I haven't
you,
heard it on Area 51 though, but
no,
that's
no,
more
no.
alien-like.
Yeah.
I was just looking for the video about the so-called Bigfoot because now all of a sudden you can see the pictures, and there was a news article about it that said a tourist had filmed it,
Ah,
which is total bullshit because it wasn't a tourist, it was just someone from the Netherlands who did.
yeah,
So you can automatically just wipe it off because it's total bull.
yeah. And it was published on April Fool's, I think.
I
Yeah,
think so, yes. Let me check
yeah.
that because I want to check that now. Mm, no, that was a month ago, 11 years
Anyway,
ago.
I wanted to mute because I needed to blow my nose.
I'll keep talking. It's fine. Let me see, because when 2014. Come on. Hello. It's not working. Why are you not working? Yeah, April Fools,
Yeah,
2014.
yes.
So I
And
got it.
that's what I told her.
Hmm.
And it um Calvin said that from the Netherlands that Bigfoot was here. Um they
I'll
claimed
send you a
there
link.
was Bigfoot. Yeah, but it
I'll send you a
wasn't.
link. Let me see. Where was it? I'm going to share a link with you, Kelvin. Just a second.
Yeah,
I'll send it in Messenger so you can
yeah,
watch it. It's on April Fools 2014. I've seen this video
hmm
and it's utter bullshit. Seriously, is. You got the link now, Kelvin.
yeah. I was in the paranormal back then and
Mm.
doing lots and lots of background research, historical research, and the only thing I could find was the mid 1600s, the tale, and I think it's also partly an urban legend um, from ape-like creature walking on two legs,
Yep.
capturing children and women. Why not men? But they ate them, and so
I have never heard a Bigfoot actually attacking human beings.
I've heard it um, on a documentary on Netflix. An encounter with Bigfoot, and they fled into a shed, and it tried to get in. And
Mm.
he was telling about a smell. It was disgusting. And when the morning came, um, it was gone. It was gone.
That's weird. I have never heard. This is the first time I heard something about that.
Okay.
Nicky boy,
Hey guys, how you doing?
how are you, my brother?
I'm doing good. I'm really sorry that I was running late.
No
Oh, that's
problem
fine.
at
That's
all.
fine.
We had Tim in for about 20 minutes, so he told us a bit about Bigfoot. But how was your knowledge on cryptids, or how low as it's pronouncing it?
The
Cryptids?
cryptids.
Yeah, compared to Lois's, I think I've done really my homework on it. But I have done quite the amount of research on on Bigfoot for quite a number of years. I mean, although I usually focus on a lot of the other cryptids because it's quite obvious that a lot of people usually stay focused with Bigfoot. I'm usually more focused on it, but with all due respect, you have to include Bigfoot in regardless of the facts. So,
Exactly.
and I've been fortunate enough to have actually gone at least one Bigfoot hunt 5 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is cool.
yeah, it was. Yeah, it was in fact during a kind of a not necessarily a paracon, but kind of like a little meetup we had. It was down in central Illinois, in fact, and the way how we did it too, I think, was great because it was. I think it was more of an easier search to find, even though we didn't find anything. I think it could have been an easier search because pretty much it was during the middle of winter, which I also did something smart with the search group that we had was I also gave these little baggies to everyone that participated. And a lot of them were asking, saying, what are these for? And I said, just in case if you guys find any hair samples, because with all the snow all over the place, it's a lot easier to find hair samples, even if it later is determined to be nothing more than just common wildlife. It's always good to have them just in case. And with all the snow around, you're also have a better chance of trying to find footprints as well.
True. Very
Yeah.
true.
Absolutely.
Very smart.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I was always so surprised you guys have so many cryptids.
I'm honestly just as surprised as you are because I would have expected to see that, like with different, with so many of them like worldwide, but it just seems and not just here in the States. I mean, that also extends pretty much throughout the rest of North America. I mean, Canada and Mexico have also kind of have their amount of cryptids as well. So it's pretty much throughout the entire continent. But I think we could all agree on when it comes to Bigfoot, as I've learned, is that Bigfoot type creatures, have been seen all around the world, of course, the Himalayas, the Pamirs, different parts of China, Russia, even in Europe, as well as even parts of Africa. They've had sightings of these creatures down in South America. Amazon has reports up and down the Andes Mountains. There's certain reports there. Then, of course, like I said, Central America and parts of Mexico, Canada especially have had them. But the main areas for the United States of Bigfoot sightings are particularly in the Pacific Northwest. And those states are California, Oregon, Washington State, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Alaska, and British Columbia.
But is there a lot of land there from Native Americans then? Because some believe it's the spirit of Native American ground.
Definitely. There is a lot. I mean, I've never been there myself, but I have heard a lot about when it comes to the Native American populations and lands. And one important factor that should be brought up. Now, I know a lot of investigators have been kind of going on to that theory that Bigfoot is an interdimensional being, which I'm starting to get into myself, but I'm kind of staying in I'm still kind of more believing in the OG reference, if you will, thinking that supposedly before that, a lot of people believe that Bigfoot may actually have been a descendant of what's known as Gigantopithecus, which may have gone extinct as recently as 10,000 years ago. For those that, never heard of it, that was the largest ape in the world that's have ever lived. They were called Gigantopithecus. They were found in Pakistan, China, India, and Vietnam. Now, we do know of Gigantopithecus due to thousands of molder teeth and a few lower jawbone fossils of Gigantopithecus that we found in China back in the 1930s. but we know very little of its anatomy overall, aside from those huge molder teeth and lower jaw bones. And people estimated that they were anywhere between 600 to 700 pounds, up to 1,000 pounds, or even up to 1,200 pounds, and that they were at least 9 to 10 feet tall. Now, when you look, like this is kind of more from the anthropology level, but if you really think about it, most of the fossil evidence of the great apes goes back 10, 15, 20 million years ago. But the fossil evidence for Gigantopithecus, on the other hand, goes back only as recently as the last few 100,000 years. So it is quite possible, perhaps, that maybe very recently there was something very large, something very ape-like living in China. And because at one point, we had the bridge that connected between Asia and North America, the Bering Land Bridge, there may have been creatures like that living in the Pacific Northwest. And some people believe that's also considered the origin stories of the Native American legends of Sasquatch.
That
Interesting.
does sound interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
mean while I was looking into a list of cryptids, but they have different lists. So you have, let me see, aquatic or semi-aquatic, and you have terrestrials, and we have the hominid. So there are 3 groups of cryptids, 4, even the flying ones.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Flying ones too.
Yes. One southeastern Pennsylvania and New Jersey, the Jersey Devil.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorites, in fact, which again, I've always wanted to go on a hunt or an investigation on the Jersey Devil myself, but just haven't had the opportunity. I know there's been a couple of movies made on it, a lot of shows that have covered. In fact, even famous Bruce Springsteen, the boss, has even done a song about the Jersey Devil.
Wow.
I didn't know
I didn't
that.
know that. No, exactly. I said the same.
Yeah, it's an easy song. You could find it on YouTube, and to me, it's also a perfect song, of course, to listen to around Halloween, obviously, because it's Halloween sounding.
Yeah. If you see, let me share, because I know how it works. Yeah.
She is so getting the hang of this. Seriously.
Yes. The Wikipedia list. So everyone can enjoy it. Add to the stage. Here we
There we
have
go.
it.
Oh, yep, that famous image. Yep.
Yes, the Jersey Devil, and it have horse-like feet and wings and a devilish tail and a goat-like head. Yeah, it looks like
It
a
actually
goat
looks
without.
it actually looks like a mispronounced Pegasus.
Kind of does. It
Yeah.
does have the horse-like feature with it, with the wings too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's weird.
And
I heard about it, but never
and
seen
although
it.
that's the most popular appearance of it, there are some other witnesses who've described it differently. But I remember from an old documentary, they interviewed like 4 witnesses. One guy said it was half man, half horse. Another one was, like a goat-like face and wings at the front of his face, or like a kangaroo-like body and eyes that glow in the dark and horns attached to its head. And
Yeah.
there's even been a few reports, supposedly, that it even sometimes would have like a dog-like face at times. But most accounts, they'll usually describe it as kind of like having like a horse-like head, but the horns and glowing eyes remain.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come back every single story.
Do you think it's interdimensional, a real creature, or something fabricated?
It's hard to really say because I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the origins of supposedly the Jersey Devil. Have you guys ever heard of like supposedly how it was born in this case?
No.
No.
So the story actually dates back. It's been around for almost 300 years now. And it dates back to 1735, where you had a woman by the name of Mother Leeds who lived in the Jersey Pine Barrens. And Mother Leeds and her husband had a relatively huge family. They were born, I mean, they had 12 children. And it was, of course, obviously in those days, that was rather unusual in that time period. So they were just considered a very strange family at that time. And then Mother Leeds eventually had found out that she was pregnant once again with the 13th child. And the story goes was that she just cried out in frustration that she was now pregnant once again. And she said a prayer apparently saying, Lord, if my child is not a healthy one, please let this one be a devil. And unbeknownst to her, her wish was granted, because on a dark and particularly stormy night, as they describe it, she was about to give birth to her 13th child. But the question was it a boy or a beast? And the main version usually goes was that when she gave birth to this 13th child, it started off first as like a normal, healthy, beautiful baby boy with blonde hair and blue eyes. But then something went terribly wrong. All of a sudden, it's like it started aging. It went from like an infant to a child to a teenager to a full-grown man to an old man. But as it seemed like he was still growing even beyond that. But at that point, it was like he started mutating into this horrible creature. Its eyes, it still had its eyes all right, but they were now glowing red like two hot burning coals. And then of course, its face took the shape of a horse with horns growing out of its head. And where the shoulder blades would have been, it took the wings of a bat. Its arms and fingers developed these long claw-like talons along with the scaly skin, and also grew a long serpentine tail, and its feet turned into like hooves like that of a horse. And before it's like this thing grew up to an adult type creature just like in a matter of seconds. It let out then this horrifying blood-curdling scream, and then it flew up the chimney, and then it went into the Pine Barrens. Now, to a more gruesome degree, there are also some stories where some versions go that after the Jersey Devil was born, he actually killed and ate up the rest of Mother Leeds' 12 children before flying into the Pine Barrens. So, and that's where it supposedly has lived ever since.
Interesting.
Definitely is. Yes, never heard that story, so that's a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
it's pretty
our-
fascinating. And
yeah.
believe it or not, and I don't know if I don't know if there's any way you can contact him. There is supposedly either one or two descendants of Mother Leeds that are still alive. Obviously they're still alive today. I can't remember the first guy's name. I can't remember either one of theirs, but they have been on some of the TV shows, however, and they have since said that they definitely are related. And one of these witnesses had these descendants has had an encounter with the Jersey Devil himself. He didn't give very many details of it, but he said that it was near a riverbank or ravine. He was laying right there on the bottom of the ravine, and he says that when you encounter the Jersey Devil, all you could just see are those piercing eyes. And even then, he would tell you that he was scared and he took off immediately.
I would have probably done the same.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing is also huge too, because based on descriptions, like a lot of the typical cryptids, this thing stands at least about 7 feet tall. And I think that's the one thing that really the scariest thing about the Jersey Devil, undoubtedly, is its appearance. It's this huge, larger than life, almost dragon-like creature, and is said to be rather aggressive too. I mean, just like again with some of the other cryptids, it frightens people, especially children, and it kills livestock and pets and wreaks havoc on social order.
Yeah. What's going on?
Right.
Mary's like, what the fuck?
Yes, it had to, everything started to pronounce. I thought, what the heck?
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
and I'm saying it quite decent. So that was the interesting part. But I have another one for you. Let me see where it is. So people can. Yes, one of my favorites.
See if the
Um,
same one as mine. Because I have one favorite that interests me very much.
Oh yes,
No.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra. Yep, and
That does
over
interest me,
too.
yes. Yeah. Both of them.
Yeah,
And the
but
Fresno
those
Nightcrawler as
interest
well, but there's no
well. Yeah,
the Fresno Nightcrawler interests me as well.
It's kind of one of the newer cryptids for me. I'm kind of just kind of learning that one as of right now. So that's many of the other ones I've studied for years, but Fresno Nightcrawler is one I'm still learning on.
yeah. But the
Yeah.
Chupacabra, we had a documentary, and there were scientists, and they were trying to prove if Chupacabra was real or it was a fable, extinct, or it was a hybrid. And they found hairs, skeletons, and they did DNA testing, and it came out it was a hybrid, but three species. One was a wolf-like creature. The other one, what was it? Um, I don't know. And the third, they couldn't find which DNA it was. And that was interesting because if it's a hybrid, then it's real and not necessarily cryptid.
Yeah, there's been some controversy surrounding the Chupacabra. I mean, it's interesting. It's like these last few sightings that have been going on throughout the last 25, 30 years. It's like at first it seemed like a lot of the sightings were kind of revolving around like what you see in the sketch, like a humanoid, almost alien type, reptilian type creature. But now it just seems more recently they're more dog-like, which
Yeah.
some of them have been debunked eventually because they found out that some of these, because it is Mexico and they do have their own breeds of dogs. It's called the Mexican Mexican hairless dogs, which they sometimes do resemble that of these canine-like chupacabras, while there's others that may either be dogs or wolves suffering from mange. But there are some others out there where they just haven't really been able to be explained. I have yet to. There was another piece of evidence like that happened again now about almost 20 years ago, back in 2007. It was down in Texas where there was a farmer or farmer's wife, I think, and she discovered not one but three different corpses, dog-like corpses, and before that, some of her livestock was in fact disappearing. She talked about it with a nearby resident, and it was always described the same exact way. Either the livestock would go missing or they would find the livestock dead, but it would have three holes, like by its neck or by its stomach, almost like that in a triangle shape. And after this happened a number of times, the resident says, well, it sounds like you got a chupacabra problem then. So, and then it's like the evidence was like right there for her. And I don't know if she actually did this herself or if this is just how they appeared, but she ended up showing, presenting photographic evidence of like the heads of these creatures. And this was like all over the news back then. So this was like, we really were thinking, could this be actual proof of the chupacabras? And I still remember even back then, I'm thinking to myself, Well, that's odd. Usually they look more like aliens or gargoyles. When they start looking like dogs, and
Yeah.
I started seeing more of these reports. It's like it started to become a lot more. It started to make a lot more sense, and not to mention, contrary to popular belief, because they always think it's just restricted down to Mexico and Central and South America. They've been seen throughout the other parts of the states, throughout parts of the states too. They're, throughout the Southwest, throughout parts of the Midwest. In fact, I think the northernmost account, supposedly again of another corpse, was somewhere up in Kentucky, I believe. So they're spreading pretty much again throughout the entire country.
Yeah. But why do you think they all of a sudden from they see the alien part of a chupacabra to dog likes? Because now all of a sudden they see the dog like figures, and all dogs, even if it's just a normal hungry dog that is starving to death, are now chupacabras. Like, seriously, guys, come on.
Yeah, see, and
What?
that's still some to this day. That's something I still don't understand. Like, what made them change the description between the two types of species? I mean, they look nothing really. It's one thing if you have a particular if it was just like one species, it may have had a similar appearance. Very much like you see with normal dogs and wolves. But
Yeah.
seeing a humanoid type, alien type creature versus a dog like, and also every now and then a gargoyle like one,
Yeah.
they look nothing alike. It just
No,
doesn't make sense whatsoever.
not whatsoever. No, it's weird.
Absolutely, absolutely. We have another one, and I sometimes I think it's an urban legend, but let's listen what Nick's
The
gonna say.
Mothman.
The Mothman.
Well,
He
my
almost spit out his drink.
Oh, I never get tired of the Mothman, of course.
But is it a humanoid creature or figure, or is it a myth? What do you think?
I think it's probably some type of humanoid creature. Like, exactly how to identify it is hard to say, because I know it's often been associated, again, sometimes with extraterrestrials, interdimensional beings, but also, as you guys probably know, it's also kind of seen as like a forerunner of death. It can be almost seen as like pretty much anything. Anything. It goes like from anywhere between like, a demon or a devil, or even some type of grim reaper or a dark angel of some sort. There's
Yeah.
just tons of, or even some kind of time traveler. I mean, there are tons of theories of what the Mothman could actually be.
It's
Yeah,
almost like a hairy Bigfoot, I swear.
It kind of does.
With wings.
yeah,
Surprisingly, what you guys see as you see on the sketch, most people have never actually seen the Mothman's face, because obviously a lot of the reports have happened, at night, so they can't see its face other than the red eyes.
yeah,
Or if there are daylight encounters, understandably, a lot of those encounters, it's just too far away to see, although I do know for a fact there was at least one of the witnesses of the original Mothman sightings back in the 60s. Pickle Tom's watching. What's up? One of the original eyewitnesses from Point Pleasant, West Virginia, back in the 60s. She was one of the few to have actually seen the Mothman in full broad daylight, and she said she saw its face. And according to what it's not, understandably, she said that if she's still alive today, she could be. She was only 18 years old back in 1966,
Yeah.
and she said that to this day she refuses to talk about what the descriptions of it. She said that other than the fact that its face just looked absolutely horrible, it must have been so frightening that it scared the hell out of her, literally.
Yeah.
And again, if she's still alive today, to this day, even almost 6 years later, she refuses to go into detail. The only time she's ever told anybody about it is her husband. And there was a documentary that was made about the Mothman over 15 years ago. And she was still alive, of course, then, but she refused to talk about anything about it. So her husband had to do all the talking himself. So that's the only time I've ever heard of anyone seeing its face.
And is there
Okay.
any theory about the Mothman? What's his purpose?
So I know a lot of people think that it's kind of like considered a forerunner of death. It appears right before tragedies. I mean, of course, the most notorious of those tragedies was, as we all know, that the Mothman sightings went between 1966 and up to very early 1968, but they truly stopped after December 15th of 1967, where you had the Silver Bridge collapse, which that killed 46 people. It's still to this day one of the deadliest, bridge collapses here in U.S. history. And at that point, it's like all the sightings just stopped immediately. Although there was one brief sighting that did occur again, like I said, in 1968, but then afterwards it just stopped completely. And then a year later in 1969, because the Mothman was not the only phenomenon that was occurring in Point Pleasant. In addition to the Mothman, you also had, once again, even Bigfoot sightings. You had UFO and, extraterrestrial encounters, animal mutilations, ghostly encounters, Men in Black especially. And even after when the Mothman stopped, some of the other phenomenon was still going on, but it all came to a true end in 1969 with the end of the animal mutilations. So, but to answer more of the question, I think it's there to warn about a particular disaster. And we had, it could be golf. He's referring to Minecraft. Yeah, it could be worse. Mothman Legacy Sean Blaze television. Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome, Noreen.
Very nice.
We've also recently discovered that the Mothman may have actually been around a lot longer than we originally believed in. Because although sightings date back to the 60s, I've done quite the amount of research on it. And I have found sightings that go far back, even earlier, before 1966. And among the disaster, some of the other historic disasters, some people had seen a creature like that, and we're now starting to speculate that he may have been sighted before some of the most notorious disasters from around the world. Like, to give a couple examples, supposedly he was we've now discovered he was probably seen like before the San Francisco earthquake of 1906, the sinking of the Titanic in 1912, the Hindenburg disaster of 1937, Pearl Harbor 1941. I mean, the list goes on. So he's probably been, and the earliest report I've ever came across that I found so far actually dates over 100 years before the events of Point Pleasant, West Virginia. And it was back in 1855, I believe. This was during the Crimean War that was going on. And people in that area, there were at least 2 reports that I found where people claimed that they saw a large bird-like creature, again with the red glowing eyes, that was seen either right before or during the times when the Crimean War, right before or during the war was occurring. So it's been around much longer than we anticipated.
So you see, how
Yeah.
many stories are there if you search for them?
There's also to also throw this out too, there's also a similar case with another bridge collapse. And ironically, this occurred after the Silver Bridge collapse of 1967. But I do recall hearing that in July of 2007, a Minnesota woman claimed to have seen a Mothman-like creature about a month before the I-35 bridge collapse, which killed 13 people. So, and ironically, that bridge that collapsed 40 years after the Silver Bridge collapse. Here's the ironic part. That bridge was built the same year when the Silver Bridge collapsed.
Wow. Seriously.
Oops.
That's just creepy.
Yeah, it really is. It's a very strange coincidence.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and meanwhile, I was looking for a picture of the swamp monster, but I couldn't find it because you have also got a swamp creature.
No, there's
Uh,
a couple of them.
oh, a couple.
Well,
Now you done it, Nick. Now you done it.
well, the one that I was thinking of that you were searching for, that sounds a lot like there's one that's called the Honey Island Swamp Monster down in the Honey Island Swamp in Louisiana.
Yeah,
And again, that's another Bigfoot type creature, although there are some differences compared to the that we're all familiar with. I mean, from what it's like, again, it's either some type of Bigfoot, a swamp monster, or a skunk, some type of maybe even some kind of hybrid. It's said to stand about 7 feet tall. It's covered with long grayish or brown, kind of silky looking hair, and it's said to be but here's the different. Here are some of the differences compared to the typical Bigfoot. Its eyes are said to be like amber. Its yellow eyes are said to be like reptilian in appearance. And perhaps the strangest feature more than anything else is its feet and the tracks it leaves behind. Unlike the typical, like the classic five-toed track, this creature actually leaves and apparently has 4 web toes instead of, and they're also roughly 50% smaller than the average Bigfoot tracks. So, and there's a lot of theories on exactly what the Honey Island Swamp Monster could be. Because again, some people say some have even said that it's not even a Bigfoot at all. It could actually be a reptilian type creature covered in all this hair, which would explain kind of the reptilian like traits it has. Now, amongst some of the beliefs of what the Honey Island Swamp Monster is, this is obviously one of them. One of them's just a legend, of course, but there was one story that supposedly the Honey Island Swamp Monster was actually a child that apparently was raised by alligators and learned how to exist with them. Yeah, it's like crocodile, like what Cindy just said. Yeah, it was an abandoned child raised by alligators. There was another one, and this would explain the 4 webs, is that another version goes is that it's a type of Bigfoot, but it's an inbred species of Bigfoot. And what probably may have happened was there's a possibility that maybe there was a family of Bigfoots that lived in that area, and the fact that they were cut off from other populations where they're not able to breed, unfortunately, that forced them to inbreeding. And a lot of times when it comes to inbreeding, the first features that changes are the feet and hands, which would explain, again, which would possibly explain the 4 web toes. Another theory is that supposedly it's also maybe a type of Bigfoot that just has these traits because of its swamp environment that it's living. But the most famous of these versions, and this is going to sound kind of a little silly, but it also, it's the most popular version. Apparently, the origins of the Honey Island Swamp Monster was that there was a circus train that happened to be passing by the Pearl River in the early 20th century when the train derailed. Most of the circus performers and the animals were killed. However, many of the circus's chimpanzees managed to survive and escaped. And supposedly, they ended up interbreeding with the local alligator population. The result was a race of, these humanoid reptilian type creatures. So it's supposedly the horrifying creation of a union between a chimpanzee and an alligator, even though it's been proven that alligators and chimpanzees cannot interbreed.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
I was actually sitting here like,
how?
I believe a lot of stuff, but this one is
Yes.
way too far off. We ain't doing that. No.
Yeah, we had a question earlier. Maybe you know this. How many creatures are there in America? And I was looking for it. And Kevin, you don't want to know. You have all kinds of charts, and you have the cryptids of New York, Texas, Washington, they all have their own charts. Arizona, um, I'm completely flabbergasted. Maine, Illinois, New Jersey, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Alabama,
It's way
Utah.
too much.
Yeah, way too many because I thought if I could find a pretty picture of a chart with all the cryptids on it, I have to show them all, and we will be here talking an hour again. So that's a bit too much. Uh,
I have one question for Nick, and it's a cryptid that intrigues me, and it's the for me the greatest mystery, and it's even bigger than Bigfoot in my eyes, and it's called the rake.
Yes.
What is it? I
I
know it's
honestly,
humanoid, but
man, that is again, it's another difficult one. And I'm actually going to be honest. I think I told you guys about this before. I've actually had an encounter, what I believe may have been the rake myself. And that to this day, I don't know exactly what it could be. I think it's some type of I always kind of consider almost like some type of night stalker, if you will, because it obviously preys on those at night. And but if I was to guess on anything, I think it would probably be some kind of interdimensional being, because there's just it's definitely a creature of unknown origin that we can't, we just can't figure out exactly what exactly it could be. And
yeah,
it's I can definitely say from experience, the encounter with such a creature like that is definitely very frightening.
yeah, I can understand that because they come out
yeah,
of nowhere, and all of a
um,
sudden they are there. Like I've seen videos that I'm like, dude, if this is real, I don't want to encounter anything like this. Seriously.
um, so a stick-like figure, right?
Yeah, so it's
No,
funny.
it's
It's like a
like human. It looks like human, but the arms are bigger, the hands are bigger, and it's all like they have hand like branches. They look like branches.
Let me see if I can find
quite the
Ray.
amount of time. I would usually say the way how it's often described is at first, now I know it first started off as like a creepy pasta legend, but now it's like
Yeah,
people have actually reported like real sightings of this creature. And in fact, again, it's probably gone a lot more than we originally believed in. And but the reports are no different than what the creepy pasta legend tells. It's often usually described as like either like a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort. And it's again said to be about 6 to 7, maybe 8 feet tall. But its most notable feature, though, yep, just like that. Its most notable
exactly. Yeah,
feature are its fingers, which they're like very long rake-like talons. So that's
yeah,
where it gets its name, the rake.
yeah, exactly.
Creepy, creepy,
Yeah,
creepy.
and I do the review video, so I saw a lot of videos coming by with rakes in there that I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, I don't want to encounter this. No.
What's
There's
even
one
more
video. It's a sewer video. It's somebody. I think he works in the sewers. He is filming through the sewers to see if there's a big what do you call that? A stop with mess
oh,
in there.
like a clog or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah. He's looking for it, and all of a sudden you see a hand coming from out of there, like a rake-like hand trying to grab the camera. Then I'm like, oh hell no, I ain't going in there. Even if it smelled very nice, I wouldn't go in there. No, goodbye.
Right. Well, and I'm going to be honest, the sketch that the image that you just showed, Mary, it
Yeah.
kind of did resemble a little of what I saw. I mean, that pretty much was actually, I'm going to take that back. That pretty much just resembled exactly what I saw. The only difference was what I saw with my encounter was it was standing upright. And,
Yeah.
it's like, I'll never forget that encounter. Not to mention, it's even more surprising that we had cameras, but none of us even tried taking a picture of it because I think we were just in such shock of what we were looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because But the weirdest thing is that it was only me and one other investigator, Jen. In fact, she saw it too.
Wow.
Creepy, creepy, creepy. I found another one, and I don't know if you know anything about that one. Let me see which picture. Uh, it doesn't have to show that creepy one. I go for this one. The Wendigo.
Oh, the Wendigo. Yep. I'm
Oh
very,
yeah.
very familiar with that one too.
This is a
It's
woodland spirit. This is not a Wendigo.
Well, it is kind of considered a woodland spirit. It's because
Yeah,
it does
yeah.
thrive in the mountain areas.
it
So,
does.
but that's ironically enough, that's one of the few cryptids out there that, to be fully honest with you guys, I will not investigate because of just how extremely dangerous this particular creature is. And for those that
Yeah.
don't know exactly what a Wendigo is, I mean, the Wendigo, it's a malevolent spirit literally brought into life by what would be considered one of the most evil acts committed by humans. And that's undoubtedly cannibalism. They have been part and parcel with Native American culture since time immemorial in this case. Now, they usually start off as a human who has just, who has started eating human flesh. And it is those cannibalistic tendencies that causes them to turn into this monster. And the Wendigo is insatiable. It wants flesh. It wants to eat. No matter how much it eats, it is never satisfied with the amount of how much it eats. There's even stories that go that when it eats, flesh or a human body, it's like it gets bigger and bigger. And in addition to that, its stomach gets bigger too. So it's like what looks like almost like what appears almost like an all-you-can-eat buffet is nothing but a crumb to it when it eats. So therefore, it is never full as a result, and it's always constantly wanting to eat so much. And there's a lot of theories again of like there's also different like what you show. That's the most popular appearance of what a Wendigo looks like. The Wendigo sometimes has different appearances. For some versions go that it sometimes does resemble like that of Bigfoot, except the difference is it's described as like a lipless ape. It doesn't have lips. Another version goes that it resembles almost like that of a zombie, where it just has these, just the skeletal like look to it. There's a third version that goes, I can't remember what the third one was, but it has like owl-like eyes this time. And then the fourth and famous one is the one that has like the deer-like head to it, and covered in matted fur. And I think what makes this creature more feared more than the other cryptids is its abilities, because it can mimic voices from like familiar ones.
Yeah.
And to make matters even worse too is that it can literally move between time and space to be where its victims are. And so when the Wendigo has its sights on you, there is no escape. And it's also probably one of the largest cryptids too, because this creature is said to stand over 15 feet tall. So it is a true giant. Now, there are some controversies also surrounding the Wendigo, and I've said this on a lot of other shows, but unless there have been actual reports of like the actual creature itself, I do have a partial skeptical side, because I on some occasions, I think some of the Algonquin tales of the Wendigo have more to do at times with mental health than it does with cannibalism, because there actually is a real diagnosis out there that ironically is called Wendigo psychosis. And if you guys, for those that's never heard of it before, Wendigo psychosis can be described as a very extreme form of cabin fever. Typically, what happens in a Wendigo psychosis is that someone is trapped or isolated with a group of people for very, very long periods of time. They may have plenty of food, water, nourishment, supplies, to eat, drink, and survive on. And what happens is it's like they start losing kind of their mentality. And as time goes on, they start going into the belief that they're going to turn into a monster and attack and cannibalize the people around them. So it can become a very, very dangerous delusion. You could think of the Wendigo psychosis as kind of like a form of compulsion. Like once they get a taste of the human flesh, they're always going to want to eat it. They're always going to want more, and they'll never get enough. So in a way, this could be seen as something similar to such as drug addiction.
Yeah. Yeah, I found another picture about a Wendigo. This more or less looks like the Wendigo I know.
Yeah,
If you
that's
can see
usually
it.
kind of the more famous version with the antlers, the deer-like head, the humanoid kind of look to it. Just recently, I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, about 4 years ago, they just made a new movie on the Wendigo. There was one that was made almost 25 years ago, back in 2001, which was just simply called The Wendigo. I haven't seen that one, but I did see the most recent one. This was 20 years later. The movie Antlers is definitely based off of The Wendigo. And
Yep.
and again, in fact, even though it's a fictional story, they stay true to the appearance of what the Wendigo is supposed to look like, how it's supposed to act, and most importantly, the origins. And they even have like a Native American in the film that talks about the origins of the creature. And it's probably one of my pretty much now one of my favorite cryptid movies. It was really
Yeah.
well done.
Cindy is asking, is the Wendigo also Skinwalker Island? I think she means Skinwalker Ranch.
I think that's what she meant too. Yeah,
Yeah.
Skinwalker Ranch in Utah. I don't know about if the Wendigo would be encountered in Skinwalker Ranch, because again, contrary to there's a popular misconception that people think that Wendigos and Skinwalkers are the same type of creature. Now, while they are connected with Native American mythology, they're not exactly the same type of creature, because
Nope.
if you really think about it, the Skinwalker is more of a shapeshifter. And those are mainly people that have chosen to basically go to the dark side. They want to become these witches. And part of, unlike the Wendigo, in order to become a skinwalker in this case, it's very, very gruesome way where you pretty much have to it's like joining a gang almost. It's like, to become a skinwalker, you have to murder someone that's in your family, someone directly related. It could be your spouse, your child, or your parents, your siblings. It could be anybody practically. And that's considered like the initiation in order to become a skinwalker. With the Wendigo, on the other hand, it's almost like they don't have a choice of becoming, because if someone's eating human flesh and a Wendigo spirit is nearby, it's going to take control of that person. And that's when they'll become like deprived, and all they'll want to do is cannibalize. So in other words, a skinwalker is someone that chooses to become this type of creature by choice. Wendigos, on the other hand, is without a choice, because once they see or notice that someone's committing cannibalism, they're going to take control of you at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I got a picture from Kelvin about the swamp monster, and he's like, I don't know if it's the swamp monster as in what they see, but this is what I got.
Okay.
It does look like the description.
Yeah,
Sort
it kind of does resemble it. Yeah. That's probably the Honey Island swamp monster.
Yeah. That's the picture I just got from Kelvin.
Now, this creature has been seen, again, ironically, just like the Mothman. This is a creature that's been seen also since the 1960s, because the first reported sighting of the Honey Island swamp monster was a retired Air Force pilot. That was Harlan Ford. And in 1963, he was hunting out in the Honey Island swamp, checking for traps. And this was during broad daylight, too. At one point, he came across this path where he found several dead wild boars that were laying on the ground. It didn't necessarily look like that they were actually killed and eaten. It was almost more like a territorial attack, like they were just attacked and killed. And as he continued investigating, he saw this large 7-foot tall, gray hairy type creature kind of leaning down. He couldn't really see a lot of its features first because its back was facing against him. Then after he made a noise, the creature turned and faced him. And he noticed very quickly its reptilian-like features. Well, both reptilian and ape-like features. But the one thing he said he would never, the one thing that really, got his attention, that he said he would never forget, was its eyes. It had these yellow amber reptilian-looking eyes that were also set that were also set far apart on its skull. And before you know it, the creature stood up, on its hind legs, and then it just ran out into the swamps. Harlan attempted to follow it, but of course, like you see with a lot of these cryptids, eventually he lost track of it. But he was able to find several of the tracks that the creature left behind. And once again, it was dealing with the 4 webbed toes. In fact, if you guys don't mind, I actually have a picture of one of those tracks that supposedly the creature left. Give me 1 second here while I'm getting it up. Yeah, this is one of the tracks that was found. It's more of a modern track, but either way, it's still supposedly what the tracks look like. So give me a second here. Sorry. Okay, here we go. So this is a cast of supposedly of what the Honey Island swamp monster left behind.
That is a reptilian food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can see it has 3 large digits, 3 large toes, and what's believed to be the 4th toe right here, which is like kind of almost like that of a thumb. But either way, you can see that they're almost webbed in appearance. And like I said, despite the appearance of the picture, it's smaller, again, about 50% smaller than the classic Bigfoot track.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm.
This is actually cool.
Yeah.
And I also have something else more fascinating to show you guys. In addition to that, I saved it when we were talking about it. There is actual supposed footage of the Honey Island swamp monster. Now, right here, this picture below, for starters, that is Harlan Ford. And he was so fascinated by this creature that he wanted to continue to try to find evidence of the Honey Island swamp monster. Now, for the longest time, he had never told anybody about his encounter because let's think about it. This is Louisiana, and especially those that live in the States. I mean, in that part in the swamps, that's gun country. So, everybody would want to get their guns out, try to hunt for this creature. And so because that, he didn't want to tell anybody. It's like, it was not for fame. He just wanted to know more about what this creature was. It would take almost another 10 years, but he finally got his wish. Now, originally it was believed this was shot the same year he saw this creature in 1963, but now we realize this may have been captured in the late 1970s. I have a 2-minute video, if it's okay with you guys, and actually 3.5 minutes. This is examination of the footage itself that I like to show you guys. So you guys want to check it out?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there's narration in this, so whoever covered this did a great job on breaking this footage down. So I'll put this on full screen, and I'll let the video do the talking then.
Cool. Don't see the video yet.
What was that?
I don't see the video yet.
Oh, you don't? Oh, wait a second. You know what? Hang on. Hold on 1 second. I just realized because I shared it on the web on that particular page. I forgot. I'm so used to using EveMux now that it didn't show the next page I was on. So sorry about that.
No problem.
Let's try that again. Now can you guys see it?
It's popping up. Yeah, there we go.
All right, here we go.
So Facebook Find Bigfoot reports the following to be the oldest known film of a Sasquatch, recorded in the Honey Island swamp area by Harlan Ford in 1963. Now, this has been offered up on several shows, and this is the footage that Facebook Find Bigfoot used. It looks like someone attempted to use a color correction and some other filters on it. I like this one better. It's the closest to the actual footage, and it does appear to have been filmed on Super 8 film.
The footage you're seeing right now was shot by Dana's grandfather on Super 8 movie reel film. She discovered the footage while filming her documentary.
And therein lies the problem. If Facebook Find Bigfoot wants us to believe it was filmed in 1963. The reason is because Super 8 film wasn't released by Kodak until 1965. So Harlan may have had a sighting in 1963, but he sure didn't film it. Not on that film anyway. Besides, we have his wife saying something entirely different.
Her grandmother claims it was shot in the late 1970s.
So it looks like the footage isn't the oldest known footage of an alleged Bigfoot type creature. In fact, although it looks pretty good, there is evidence that this was very much a prank. And since Harlan never released it publicly, it could be that he never intended to make any bank off of it. It wasn't until after he died that this was found in the attic. So where is the evidence? Well, it's right here where the subject first comes into view. There is an obvious jump edit in the shot. In movie photography using film, this is done while filming by simply stopping the camera and then restarting it. Many times this is done when waiting for something or somebody to come into view. So the fact that the scene begins by first holding in one spot, stopping and then starting again when the subject steps out is a little suspicious. It looks like it's just standing behind bushes waiting for the order to move. It could well be that some direction was given to the subject to start its walk. The jump edit is more obvious when the scene is stabilized. First you don't see it, then you do. Now, although there is a possibility that this could have been edited for length after the transfer to video, I can see no reason why this would have been done unless it was extremely long and just holding in one place. But it could be. Maybe Harlan heard it in the bushes and was filming for a couple of minutes before it stepped out. But then why stop and then restart the camera? And there's also the possibility that CG was done afterwards, but I don't detect this. The thing is, the problem of the jump edit still exists, and it's unexplained. And there's a big difference between 1963 and the late 1970s. Creating some costume for a hoax in 1963, 4 years before the Patterson-Gimlin film, would seem to add credibility to the film. But given that this was more than likely filmed in the late 1970s, the probability of it being a friend in a costume is a consideration. So whether real or fake, though, the one thing we do know is that this is not the oldest known footage of Sasquatch. Thank you.
You did good.
Yeah.
That was good.
You could view the full footage, I think, on YouTube because it was recently, because it wasn't just like he started filming right before it showed up. There's a lot more to it where he's actually going through different parts of the swamp, kind of checking things out. And I haven't seen the full footage yet, but I know it's on YouTube. One person you guys should get on eventually. We had her on a few years ago back when I used to do a different show. His granddaughter, Dana Hollyfield, as you just saw, we've had her on some of our shows before. So if you guys also want to get more, about the Honey Island Swamp Monster, I would definitely reach out to her. She probably would be more than happy to be on your show and talk about it.
Cool.
I think we might want to do that. Yes.
Yes.
That would be very cool.
She's even she's been on some of the other paranormal shows, and she even said that she's even had an encounter with the creature herself. And that footage, sadly, Harlan Ford passed away back in 1980. So it wasn't until that footage was discovered that, it went public afterwards. So it seems in a way like Dana Hollyfield is kind of continuing her grandfather's legacy because they have done hunts and searches for the Honey Island swamp monsters throughout the swamp.
Cool.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, we still need a few guests till our summer vacation. So
Of course. If you guys like, I could reach out because I'm Facebook friends with her. I could reach out to her and see if I can get her on.
If you want to do that,
then please.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to.
We are almost 1.5 hours in, so I'm going to be the party pooper tonight. So, everyone, thank you for watching. Next week, we have an English guest, Mr. Phil Newton. And hopefully, I will have some guests for June, but they're reaching out to me on Monday. So, as soon as the dates are booked, I will pronounce the names, not now. So it's so hard to keep my mouth shut. Yeah. So everyone, thank you for watching. There will be a sequel, as you've heard from Nick. He's reaching out for the Swamp Monster, and
Yes.
I hope Nick will be on that one as well. So we will be talking for the four of us. Cindy, thank you for watching. Kate, thank you for watching. And not to forget Kelvin.
And
See you all
Noreen.
next week. Thank you for the questions.
Yeah, man. Thanks so much for having me on. And you guys know I'm always up. I mean, that's like I could go on for hours on end with these cryptids. And so there
Yes.
definitely will be more conversations like this in the
Oh
future.
yes, definitely. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
you are the best, Nick. Seriously.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. So if you want to hang out, I will shut down the live stream and we will talk some more.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Cool.
See you all next Thursday, 9 o'clock.
Bye bye, everybody.
Take care.
You're choking.
Thanks for watching. We hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe.